today we're actually going to be a little traditional. I'm not going to use my iPad today. I'm going to use regular pencil, paper, and all your cool traditional items. So, what will you need? First thing you need is paper. I always prefer to use tracing paper when I'm doing my practice drawings. But use any paper you'd like. Just for this exercise, I think it would be easier to use tracing paper because we're going to be using a photo that I found online of this cute little owl that's tilting its head. Also, you will need a pencil. I love these thick first pencils. They just feel really good in my hand. I love them even though I'm over 40 years old. I won't disclose how much over. Next, you'll need an eraser. I like the white eraser because it tend to smear things more than the pink eraser, which is more like handwriting. This one's a lot better for sketching and erasing those fine lines. Also, you'll need some tape. I am using some washi tape, pretty washi tape, because I love washi tape, and it's great because it's not as sticky as regular tape. But if you don't have any washi tape, just regular tape is fine, or even painter's tape is a good option. I'm using a poppy red Prismacolor, but you can use any kind of pencil that you have, colored pencil. Choose a color that's not too light. I like to use either blue or red. That's kind of the standard colors. All right. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the photo, which you can download. I will have the link for you to download the same photo. I found this online doing a Google search, which led me to Pinterest, which led me to this little owl here. However, what I did notice when I go to hit print, because I'd like for everybody to print out their owl, if you do not have the same owl, do not worry. Just choose an owl that you like, and we'll go from there. For today, if you'd like to use this owl, when you go to print it, I would definitely darken the settings. So that way it's a lot easier to see once you put your tracing paper on top, which is what I did here. It's still really hard to see the other side, so I kind of pressed really hard, and this is where the tape came in. So I taped the top so I could flip back and forth between my layers and kind of whoop, whoop, like that, without the sound effects, of course. So then I just basically did the shapes, the big shapes. So we have like a circle here, and then we go with the triangle like we did in the other drawing with the hamster, not the hamster, oh my gosh, with the guinea pig. And then we had an oval or a tear shape here, a little blob for the little white patch over here, and then I kind of did circles and little sausages for feet, and then another teardrop like shape there, and finally a triangle at the bottom. And after I did that, then I went with the red color pencil and I started to put all those shapes together. And I did have I printed out 2 pictures of the owl because I wanted to have one in front of me so that I could see as my reference. So I put that one kind of in front of where I was. You can't see, but I'm propping it up so I can see kind of where the details are. If I couldn't see, let's say if it's hard to see under all the paper, then I could at least see the details in front of me with my reference. So at that point, I was kind of putting in lines and connecting things, adding some details like the feathers and shading and getting all those shapes nice and put into place. And what I like about the colored pencil, especially with this one, is that when you shade with it, it looks really pretty and kind of almost dramatic. This is what we're going to be drawing. And the first step is to recognize that there are different shapes in your drawing or in your photo. When you're going to do a photo with a reference, you're going to notice that there's simple shapes right in the photo. In my last video, before I got shut off, I was showing how there were different shapes in the photo. And so what I did was I took my first piece of tracing paper. Well, actually, first I put washi tape on the top so that it wouldn't move around. And then I put a layer of the tracing paper on top, and again taping it down so that it doesn't shift or move as you're drawing on it. It's really helpful. And we also have our little reference owl. So I printed out 2 copies of the owl, one so that I can look at in front of me, and then the other one is going to be under the tracing paper. So you can flip back and forth, which is also why I put some tape on the top. So it might be a little hard to see the owl through the tracing paper. Just do your best. We're mostly just seeing where the outline and the body, the structure of the owl is. So as I've mentioned in past videos, every time you have a reference photo or a photo that you want to use, break it up into simple parts. That way it's not as overwhelming when you're about to draw something. And again, I always encourage people just to try it out. You never know, but I do think that most people can draw more than a straight line, just need some encouragement. And I think these videos will help with that. All right, so here we go. So underneath you can see there's a nice circle for the head. There's almost a teardrop, an upside down teardrop for the wing, a sort of oval here for the other wing, and then the whole body you could really see is maybe an egg. And then there's kind of a triangle shape for the feet, and here perhaps it's like a little rectangle, and then a triangle here. So let's do that through the tracing paper. You have your owl head there. We're just drawing shapes at this point. And then again, you have your upside down teardrop, like that. The body is most like, to me, looks like a sort of egg. A squishy egg, but still an egg. And then the other wing here, maybe it's like another little egg. Like that. Again, doesn't have to be exact. Then the tail, as you can tell, was almost like a little triangle here. So let's put a triangle there for the tail. And the legs had another triangle. There was kind of a leg in the back too. We'll put a rectangle to represent that leg. And if I look here, this more looks like another rectangle. So find it on your tracing paper and block it out. So now you're probably thinking, this woman has gone cuckoo crazy with the shapes. But if you really look side by side, and move this over, you're gonna see basically I've broken down the picture into shapes. And that's basically, it gives the animal some kind of volume or whatever you're drawing. And basically it gives you a nice, good idea of the space that all these things are going to take on your paper. And then once you've done all those shapes, you can start to connect them together. So here you can tell it's not just a floating head, but there's actually some connection. And I can see that through my tracing paper. So let's kind of connect that a little bit. So that way your head isn't just a floating ball. And then there was also the, forgot about these little guys, the sort of feather ears. This one was kind of a curved feather. So there's lots of ways to draw shapes, and they're not always going to be nice and straight. Some are going to be a little more curvy and a little less like the shape that you're thinking of. Okay, so we have the little feather area. We have, then here, if you notice, there's almost like a little triangle. So let's add that in. I'm picking the part that I see the most. And again, a nice curve. And we have the eyes that are gonna go around here and there. They don't have to be perfect right now. Just kind of laying out where they are. And we'll add, shade that in. And then the nose, which is almost like a pointy oval. So you could do it one of two ways. You could just have do like a squashy oval, or if you want, you have a line and then you could connect them like that. Here there was those eyebrows. If you look at your reference photo, you can see that there was like these eyebrows sticking out here, and then it had kind of the little crescent feathers here and here, and then it had sort of a white, like a white bib. Perhaps this owl is a very messy eater. Don't know. Okay, so you can kind of see it's taking shape already. Pretty cool. At this point, you can go ahead and take your eraser if you want, and maybe take out some of the lines that might be distracting. That's up to you. Normally I just kind of leave them and carry on. But if you want to take some of the lines out for the next part, it'll make it a little easier to see what you're doing. Just erase that there. There we go. And here I might even give it a little bit more shape to the head. I might even take this out just a tad more. It's up to you. As I always tell people, you do you, boo. All right, so let's compare it side by side. I'd probably like make this a little thinner when I go to do my final lines. So I feel like that beak is just a tad too wide. So a little thinner. There we go. Now that's cute. To make things cute, what do? You make the eyes big and the features small. And by features, I mean the nose. At least in this example. You don't need the pencil anymore. If you have a colored pencil, that's where this comes in next. I'm just gonna put the pencil away. And again, get your tape. And I like washi tape, again, because it's so much easier to take off than your regular tape, which gets stuck to everything a little too much. All right, let's get some magic happening. So you can see through your lines. You still have your owl on the bottom. I don't really use the owl at the bottom at this point. I rely mostly on our reference owl, which is the extra one that I printed out. And I'll have that again. It's gonna be in front of me where I can see it. I can see the details and everything that goes with it. Down. And we're gonna keep it super simple because we're not gonna add any shading at this point. Just gonna, well, maybe a little bit, but keeping it super, super simple. Let's start with the head here. And this still has that sketch feel. This by no means this is gonna be the final drawing. This is mostly a sketch to get you practicing what you could do. Because usually at this point, once I've gotten to my sketch here, then either I would go over it another time with more of a refined, darker lines and kind of layout where exactly I want everything on another layer. Or I would scan it and go on the computer and work on it there. Also another option. Oops, earthquake. Just kidding. All right, so let's get some of these details in. And I did show this on another video. I'm going to show it here. Some of the cool lines that we're going to be using are a little bit of a flick and swish. So you're going to go down, up a little flick, and then down again. Up, down, up, down. So practice that a little bit. It's almost like a backwards check mark. And that kind of gives you a feeling of feathers and fur. And notice how I'm not just doing, I'm keeping kind of a soft line. So I have an imaginary line. And I just come back up to that line, curve it, up to the line, like that. So using that, the line, that reference line is going to be the line that's under the tracing paper where we did. So it'd be under here. You follow that line, you can add those cool details. Let's give it a little bit of some little hairs. Would be cool. Little feathers. This one was more like that. And then we had, if you press it down, you can see where the feathers might go. And here's where the body kind of starts. So again, up, down, flick. You don't want them too close together. It's just to kind of give a little feeling that this little guy has some feathers. And then we'll bring this down just a little bit. And not everything has to have a flick and swish. We could always do these kind of lines as well, where they're not quite connected. Like that. And then for the, I'm gonna just keep calling it a bib because that's kind of what it looks like to me. Just add some lines there. See how it's not quite connected? I don't have the flick and the swish. There we go. Let's get the eyes in. I'm making these pretty dark because the owl's eyes kind of have like that dark outline. So I'm making them quite dark, more than usual. And then we'll do that inside pupil. And here I like to put another inner circle, which will be where the light is, the reflection of light. And then we'll just kind of add dark to the pupil, like that. And since we're here, remember there was that triangle and then the neat eyebrows? So let's get these eyebrows in. He kind of has a quizzical look, and I like to start the eyebrow kind of right above the eye and just a little curve like that. And we'll do the other side because these are kind of thicker. And again. use your imagination and see where that takes you. And then I kind of curve it just a tad, like that. Not perfect, just how I like it. And then again, we have the little beak. I'm gonna put color on one side and leave the other side all alone. And then remember we had that little crescent shape on the side, kind of like the cheeks. So I'm going to use little small lines like this. On one side, and then little lines on the other side. And then you can darken them in a little more after, but we're gonna keep moving on because still lots to do and little time. Then let's not forget the tail at the bottom here. As far as the feet go, you can keep it pretty simple, basic. So we'll keep a little bit of the shape that it has already and simplify it. So like that. And then another little curve like that. And since it looks like the owl was on some kind of branch or possibly a, you know what, actually now that I look at it, it's on someone's hand. I think it's their glove, kind of like that. But we're gonna put this on just right here. Front leg is gonna go here, the little back leg is gonna go right back there. So it's kind of holding on. Can't move my hand like that. And then it had some pretty crazy claws. Put that there. And then that one there. And then I went ahead and drew this leg. I just used little sausages, little half sausages, added the claws, and let's move on. Next, let's add a little bit of texture. So as we can see, our owl is not white. Well, it could be a snowy owl, who knows? But let's add a little bit of texture anyway, as I started to do up here when I got sidetracked. So just little lines to indicate some kind of feather. And here we can add some more feather-like spots there. I'm going to darken that a little bit. And this is where the color pencils really are nice. Because they blend in so nicely. You can add some shorter strokes. Even here, to show that the owl's head doesn't have a beard. It's just feathers. And we'll add some more little lines. You know, be creative where you put them. There's nothing specific about adding these textures. They're just basically there to kind of show that there are feathers on here in a fun way. This side here had more of a, there we go. Down towards the tail side, there was more of a, they had this line pattern. So we're gonna simplify that by just doing this kind of line. And for the wings, I had before I did these, but we could try a different shape. We could probably try some little W lines. that look a little more feathery. Same thing to this side. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Just to show a little bit of feathery goodness. And here I like to add a little bit of, I guess, the wrinkle. You don't want to cover the whole thing in little lines, just kind of to show where it's bending. And there you have it. There's your little owl. If we look at it side by side, a pretty good caricature. After this, I would probably suggest adding some shading. And if you want to stick around and watch me shade, I'm going to do some quick shading for you guys in the quicker format. I'm going to speed through that part. But otherwise, there's your owl. You guys did it. I would love to see your owls. Come check me out next week. We'll try another thing, another fall themed drawing, and I hope to see you then. Here we go. Let's shade.